everyone. Welcome back to another zoology panel here at Furality. If this is your first Zoology 101, you're in for a very weird treat. I think that's the best way to describe this panel.
A treat, yes.
Yeah, some of you may have also seen this in person at some convention. I posted it at FWA, BLFC, MFF, pretty much almost all the conventions I've hosted it in some form, though FWA and Las Vegas FurCon are the last two that we've done this at. But before we get into what the panel is, I guess I should probably introduce myself, though I hope people know what panel they're at. It's more about introducing my co-host over here, but
that's okay.
So my name, no, they gotta know. My name is Dr. Wildlife. A lot of people just call me Doc. I think it's a lot easier to say than saying out the whole name. I am, in fact, a real zoologist. I've been doing this for about 15 years now, mainly working in the world of zoos and aquariums. I've worked with everything from elephants to crocodiles, to tigers, pythons, everything in between. Like every kind of critter. But my biggest passion is actually in science communication. I currently work for Zoo Life TV, which is basically like Twitch for animals. It's live webcams from zoos and aquariums around the world. And something that drove me to working for them was this idea that I think science should be as accessible as possible. And that comes in a variety of forms, whether it is financial reasons or just the ability to learn from an instructor properly. I myself have ADHD, to which everyone is probably like, oh, really? If the people that know me. But I have ADHD. I was only diagnosed in the fall. It all makes so much more sense now that I have it, because throughout university and even back into high school, I always had professors that the material was very interesting. Say it was a zoology class, even. It was really interesting, but it was very hard for me to pay attention to that instructor. I didn't quite get everything. It was just it was a task. It wasn't enjoyable. And something that I told myself that when I got to that point in my career I wanted to do was to be the kind of instructor that those kinds of people, my fellow ADHD havers, can enjoy learning from, and to make that learning fun on top of that. So I've always believed science should be as accessible as possible, and it comes in a variety of forms. And mainly what I do in the fandom is panels or classes like this. I stream on Twitch. Wednesday nights are my free zoology classes. They're actually starting back this coming week. Completely free. The same content that I used to teach at the university level, so you get it for free. And these panels are kind of that extension of that, giving you guys a chance to see it in a totally different form, especially when it's a virtual con like this. And normally, this is at an in-person con, and we have a whole table full of people that are badgering me the entire time on top of the audience. There's two of us today.
Yeah,
we're going to make it wild. So my co-host for today is my good friend Peachy. And Peachy, I'll let you say a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Peachy. I'm not a zoologist, but I am an artist, and I do my best. And I also have ADHD, so hopefully I'm going to learn something too. So I'm so excited to just be here and hang out and do this. So yeah.
And Peachy, I just want to note Peachy's bravery. Peachy's first time helping with this panel was FE.
Yes,
gosh, I keep forgetting what year it even is. FE 2022, and Peachy was one of my teacher's assistants alongside Bolty, who used the whiteboard to take notes of everything that was happening on set. You did try. You tried so hard.
There was so much happening. It was great.
That was a mess.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And just for context, you guys are getting a better educational plan today, because normally this panel is hosted after dark at cons, and it's called Drunk Zoology. So it's still going to be silly, but at least you will hopefully learn a little bit more than what you normally do, because by the end of the panel at an in-person convention, it has just delved into a mess. I'll post photos in the Discord for all of you later to see. But in any case, we're just blabbing on and on. It's the ADHD, but let's get this learning started. And I do want to say also, we almost forgot to introduce some of the most important people in the room, besides the Furality team who are in my ears helping me through all of this. You guys can't see them on the Twitch stream, though I guess if the AV crew panned around to them, they could. You don't have have to, AV crew. I'm not badgering you. You do you. Yeah, the audience. Some of them are not. I'm like, some of them are not showing up on the camera. You guys are ghosts. There's more people than it seems. But that's, I'm like the audience, and it's just Mike sitting in the front bench. Actually, though, that's really funny if it was. But we have some friends in the audience, and in true typical fashion of Zoology 101, they have been told to badger us or react to anything that we're doing within reason. So you're probably going to hear weird comments and such. And audience, once again, that's part of the fun of Zoology 101. So please react. If it's something gross, make sure you show us how gross it is. If it's something really cool, let us know. Laugh, whatever you want to do. It is part of it. Now, the fun of Zoology 101 is, it's shenanigans. It's full of shenanigans, but you actually will likely learn something. And these first few points are some of the things that most people typically most people in the audience are hearing it for the first time. And Beth, this is actually new to the panel, so this is where you get to learn.
Ooh,
you get to learn.
I'm learning. I'm so excited.
So a long, long time ago, there was an old white man by the name of Darwin.
There always is.
There always is. But this particular one, his name was Darwin. And you guys probably know Darwin as the father of evolution, and you may have always wondered, well, what exactly does that mean? Well, I really don't think it's that great of a term for good old Darwin, because he actually stole some of his ideas from one of his best pals. That's kind of rude.
Oh.
That is kind of rude. Not a great guy, Darwin. And I'll rant more about Darwin here in a bit, but one of the cool things that Darwin came up with, besides, I guess, the whole theory of evolution, was that he said that there were these pieces of evidence somewhere in the crust of the earth that could connect every major animal group to the next. So basically filling in the gaps between something that looks like a bird, these little guys, and something that looks like a snake or a fish. So basically these transitional groups between all of those. And the wildest thing about that is this was before fossils were really a thing. So Darwin was stating these things, and people were looking at him like he's just a crazy person. He's like, what do you mean there's like a halfway form between a bird and a snake in the ground somewhere? Like, what does that mean? And we now refer to these types of animals as transitional fossils, or the evidence is transitional fossils or transitional animals. And it's exactly what Darwin had speculated, that deep within the crust of the earth there were pieces of evidence that would connect these major groups to one another. And it's only recently that we actually found evidence of those animals. I'm sure, Twitch chat, I can't see you right now, and that's okay. I'll review the chat later, but I'm sure there's a few of you that are probably shouting or will soon be shouting the name of this animal. But this fossil is probably one of the first ones that actually showed that Darwin was completely correct on the standpoint of transitional life forms. And this animal here is known as Archaeopteryx, which was one of the links between the past dinosaurs to the quote-unquote dinosaurs of today. And, besides talking about those animals, there was plenty of other reason for people to hate on Darwin. Once again, the theory of evolution was his big thing, and people weren't willing to accept that kind of information. It still continues to this day, to be honest. I didn't learn evolution until my second year of university. We didn't even talk about it in middle school and high school. And there's probably some of you from either like the northern part of the United States or up in Canada where I am now, or elsewhere in the world, where you're like, what do you mean you didn't learn about it until the second year of university? But in the southern United States, it's just not really taught. In fact, my high school biology professor, when we got to that section in the book, he was just like, yeah, we don't talk about that, and just made us skip like 10 chapters about the theory of evolution. Yeah. I'm like, and imagine being high school students. Like, I was interested in it already. I was watching Discovery Channel and stuff. So it's like, I knew about it. But what about all these other people that didn't have Discovery Channel or weren't interested in it? And they see this teacher being like, we just skip that. They're like, oh, God, that's a terrible thing. I don't want to learn about that. And thus, the science issues that we have of today. But I'm just curious, guys, whether in Twitch chat or here in the audience, by a show of hands or emojis, how many of you actually learned evolution in high school? Oh, there's two people? Yeah. And how many of you had teachers that it just kind of skipped over it entirely and never mentioned it? pretty much everybody else. Octane's got 2 hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And at FWA, we had a huge room of people. I mean, it was not even standing room only. People were literally sitting on top of each other because the panel was so packed. And I would say 99% of the room raised their hands and said they actually still haven't had a class about evolution, but definitely didn't in high school. So it's wild. And of course,
But you're getting one now.
You're getting one now.
We're learning.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Woo!
So some of this may be new to you, and some of it may rattle your brain, especially because with all of our introductions, we have 39 minutes to teach a whole semester-long zoology class. Beth, do you think we can do it?
Yeah.
We're
gonna try.
We got it. So it's not just the fossils that show connections between these animal groups. There's this fantastic field that I did not do so well in university, but we won't talk about that right now. That is called comparative anatomy, and it's basically talking about how the anatomy of a bird, mammal, et cetera, can show connections between, one and the other. And one of the easiest ways to talk about that is looking at our limbs. Have human, cat, whale, and bat. We all have the same arm, hand bones. They're just in different, elongation marks. Kind of, they're all still in the same position, but some are a little shorter and more condensed, and some are skinny, more elongated, and kind of and different kind of links. But we all have the same bones, and there's a lot of other things that we share, but that's one of the easiest ones to see those connections. And of course, we know about the history of all those animal groups that I'm just talking about and where they came from, because our history, the history of the vertebrates, the animals that have bones or backbones, literally captured in rock. And I'm laughing because I'm just remembering a poor story involving me and one of my Twitch peoples in my community and fossils. We were talking about fossils one day in a Twitch stream, and I was saying, how amazing that we have so many fossils that can tell us this history, because it's actually quite rare that a dead animal or dead plant turns into a fossil. All the circumstances have to be exactly right. And I did a tweet about it. And there's a really, really funny display at the Field Museum in Chicago that talks about how things become fossils. And I don't know how old this video is. It has to be from the 80s. It's very archaic. And in the video, The lady goes, "How to become a fossil?" And she goes, "Step 1, die." And it's like, yep, that does it. And I did a tweet. I did a tweet. Right, step 1, die. And I did a tweet talking about fossils, and one of my Twitch followers or Twitter followers remembered, because in the stream right before that we had talked about this video, and I'm so sorry I forgot the name of this person, but they replied to my tweet being like, "Step 1, die," and Twitter banned their account. Banned it instantly. They're like, "You're threatening death to Dr. Wildlife?" And I felt so bad. I was like, we can't talk about fossils on Twitter anymore. Can't talk about it.
No.
They banned you. But they got their account back, but it took like 72 hours, and I was like, no, they weren't threatening me. We were talking about fossils, and this is the YouTube video of the display. It's a real thing. Ugh, it was so sad. So yeah, just don't talk about how fossils, the first step of becoming a fossil, or you will get banned from Twitter.
Yeah,
in the state of Twitter, I don't know if you'd even get it back right now. So we keep talking about evolution, and I like to say that a lot of people see it as the science boogeyman, the boogeyman of the science world. And it's not that. It's actually surprisingly complicated, and I can guarantee that if you're a fan of Pokemon, you at least have a rudimentary understanding of how it works already. But evolution can actually be summarized into 3 words, which is change over time. And that's all it is. That's all it is. And evolution doesn't occur to an individual. I think you've heard me say this before. It's really funny. You're not going to look in your backyard and see a squirrel evolving into mega squirrel in your backyard or whatever. I'm not very original with names.
Okay.
But mega squirrel's not going to be a thing that happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't happen. It occurs to species overall. So maybe all of the squirrels could become mega squirrel, right? All of them. That's kind of terrifying to think about.
Okay.
All of them. Yeah, at once. And here's the thing, though. It'd be really cool if it was at once, but it actually happens over a very, very slow period of time. We're talking very, very long periods of time, often millions of years, thousands of years if you're lucky, but it's a millions of years thing. And it's not just a straight shot. There are steps in between, or those intermediate critters. And all of that, all of the mega squirrels, all of that change over time that has built up is actually what explains the diversity on our planet today. So everything that we see all around us. And I hate using this word, it's not very scientific, but there's actually a huge variety of living things on our planet. Huge variety. And a lot of people ask me, well, Doc, why, you literally just said it's not scientific. Why would you even use that word? Why would you still use it? But it's because we don't actually know the actual amount of diversity that we have on our planet. It's something we still don't know. And that's because we measure diversity in two ways. There's between species, which would be a tiger, lion, fox, bird, whatever, bat. I'm like looking at everybody. So, between species, so different species. We also look at within a species, which means that, taking off the green tiger attire for a moment, all of us humans, I can guarantee that if we were in a room, we would all be very distinct individuals. We would all look very different. We would have different eye colors, hair color, height, weight, all these other genetic things that are going on in our lives that make us individually different. I mean, me and Peachy, we don't have the same voice. We're very different.
Yeah.
I started to say we're the same height. We're not. I'm shorter.
It's okay. It's fine. It's okay.
But we're alike in a lot of. What? The short one?
I'm short now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're tall today.
This is the real life difference, maybe. So, we're all unique individuals, and all these animals are also unique. And between these different species, we actually have a huge range because we don't quite know. We estimate between 10 million to 100 million different species on Earth at the very least kind of thing. And we still don't know. And we don't know for a lot of reasons because there's still areas, surprisingly, and people are probably like, the ocean. But yes, also on land. There's places that we still don't know everything that's there. Plants, insects, amphibians, birds, even large mammals. Surprisingly, just in the past few years, there was a gibbon, a type of primate that was discovered for the first time. Its common name is actually the Skywalker gibbon. So if you're a Star Wars fan, pretty cool news. Now we're discovering animals all the time, and also, fortunate reality is animals are going extinct all the time, and it's very sad to think about. But there are countless animals we don't actually know, but countless animals that have went extinct probably within my own lifetime, all the lifetimes of people in here, that we never even knew existed before they were gone forever. And that's something I'm not going to dwell on in this panel, but I'm happy to talk about it to everybody because it's it's a very sad thing. We have a lot to be hopeful for, though, so that's why we won't dwell on it during this panel. And all of this is a result of evolution. And of course, we're circling back to the old white man, which is Charles Darwin. And he wrote this book called On the Origin of Species. But a quick comment that I'm sure the audience, I can't wait to hear the reactions about. A quick comment about Darwin that I learned from one of my Discord server members is while Darwin was going around writing this book and studying all these animals, Darwin was also participating in something called the Glutton Club. You guys guess what that is?
I'm too scared. I'm too scared.
I'm sorry, Mike. You're not gonna like what I'm about to say, Mike. You're not gonna like it. So. The Glutton Club was a group of scientists that they would get together for fancy dinners, and guess what was on the menu? Their study subjects. So, yes, Darwin ate his beloved Galapagos tortoise. The Darwin fox actually almost wasn't discovered because Darwin took fondness to bashing them on the head. It's very sad. And there was actually a whole species of rhea, which is like a ground bird in South America, that almost didn't go discovered because Darwin was actually in the process of he was having this fancy dinner with some people in South America, and he was eating it, and he looked at the bones and was like, oh, and it was like packed it all up, and now that is actually in a museum over in the UK. His leftover dinner. Yeah.
But why?
But in any case, the Glutton Club met an untimely end when there was a. This is the part Mike's not gonna like. It was a bird. Well, bird won't like this either. There's a lot of people that won't like this, but there was a species of owl. there was a species of owl, and they ate it, and it tasted so bad that the whole Glutton Club got very sick.
Good.
And they said never again. And the Glutton Club, no more.
Excellent. Karma. Like, why were you eating them? Like, is it just like you just want to know what it tastes like so bad? Like, I don't understand.
Humans are nasty, nasty things. I don't know.
Nobody better try it out.
No Glutton Club.
No nibbles. No nibbles.
No nibbles.
No.
So it's kind of funny saying that when I say that the reason why Darwin ultimately came up with the theory of evolution was because of birds. Ironic, I think. But these birds here, they're often referred to as Darwin's finches, and it's a group of different species found on the Galapagos, where Darwin visited on his ship, the HMS Beagle. And basically, got 28 minutes, Beth. I don't know. We got a whole semester to go.
Gotta go.
Run. The theory of evolution for all of you. Run. Overpopulation. We're not talking about humans taking over the planet. We're talking about more individuals are born than could ever survive. Basically, what that means is imagine you're a baby sea turtle, okay?
Okay, I'm imagining.
You're a baby sea turtle, and.
Okay. Yes.
You're actually in an egg, and you're in the sand. Okay. And if the conditions were not just right, poor Peachy would always be an egg, would never be nothing more, and that would be so sad.
But an egg.
So sad. But if the conditions are just right, that egg is gonna grow, it's gonna incubate, and it's gonna turn into a baby sea turtle. You know what they're gonna do next? They're gonna try and get out of that egg. Some of them too weak to get out of the egg. They die within the egg.
No.
That's so sad. Very sad. But if they're strong enough, they break free, and now they get to dig through the sand, and guess what? Well, sometimes they're not strong enough to get out of the sand. It's so
Their
sad.
lives are so hard, and they're babies.
Everybody in the Twitch chat's like screaming about the baby sea turtles. So, so that's happening. And then they get out on the sand, and guess what? Sometimes there's a cat up there. The cat has a little snack. Sometimes raccoon, sometimes a seagull. Who knows what? Who knows what could be there?
So many things.
But maybe you get lucky and you get to go across the sand and you're just running and running and running. And there's seagulls and there's dogs and there's raccoons and you're just dodging left and right and you get to the water. But guess what? Sometimes there's things in the water. They also eat the babies because they know it's a seasonal thing. These animals know it's like a feeding frenzy, right?
And they're so small.
Out of that whole nest of hundreds and hundreds of eggs, there's a lucky few that make it out into the ocean. And then, they got the whole process of growing up. Sometimes they don't make it to adulthood, but if they're lucky, they get to adulthood, they find a mate, and the cycle repeats itself. That's overpopulation. It's so sad. Overpopulation's so sad. But guess what? Also, that baby sea turtle or that hawk, there's not enough resources for them to go around. Even when you don't think about what humans are doing to this planet, there's not always enough for everyone. And that means that some will survive, some won't. Some won't get enough food, enough water, shelter, territory, any of that. And of course, all these animals, these sea turtles, tigers, as this example, they all have variation. Everybody's different. Some tigers, for example, may have better musculature. They may be have a little bit more weight to them. Their teeth may be a bit better, a bit sharper. They may just be a little bit smarter as a tiger. Who knows what it is? But they have these variations. And all of that is a result of genetic mutations in their DNA. And of course, some of that variation is referred to as adaptation. It means that it's beneficial for that animal. So that tiger with the sharper teeth, it's not really a thing, but it's just a silly example. The tiger with the sharper teeth can kill better musculature. Maybe the tiger that's a bit more cautious survives better because it stays hidden from poachers. But all of that is known as favorable traits. And of course, we get to the other scientific boogeyman word, which is natural selection, meaning that those with the best traits survive. And a lot of people, if you were like me, if you were like me, I was like, oh, survival of the fittest, they're just tough. Sometimes they're not, but they still survive and they're still considered the best trait. The best way to explain it is this this example. And I want to say one time I was teaching this to some high schoolers, and turns out one of them had some pet rats, and they did not like my explanation that I used. They were like, this is so sad. So I hurt the sea turtle fans. I hurt the rat fans. I love rats, just to clarify before I get into this. But this is an imaginary species that I like to call the sand rats. There probably is something like that out there, but these are imaginary. And some of the sand rats blend in with the sand. Some of them don't. They stand out like a sore thumb. And these predators, like this hawk, it doesn't have a fancy made-up name. It's just a hawk. It sees the ones that stand out like a sore thumb, and it's basically like, why should I make the effort to find the camouflage ones? There's one right there, and it eats it. And you repeat this process, repeat the process, and eventually the ones that stand out like a sore thumb, their genetics are selected out of the population, and over time you start to see a population that actually has camouflaging ability. That is basically natural selection in a nutshell. Of course, those changes build up over time, and eventually we get different species. Darwin's finches, for example, all the different subspecies of tigers, all the different birds in the world, all the different vertebrate animals in the world. I mean, you can just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Exactly. And it's like, that is what speciation is. And all of that is what evolution is. See, no scientific boogeyman. It's when people learn that process, they're like, oh, then why do people hate it? And it's like, I don't know. Can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that a lot of these animals, they have really awesome adaptations that are like, it feels like it's all out of sci-fi, but no, it's our amazing planet and the amazing life that we have here with us. For example, octopus, not only are they incredibly intelligent, but they have these color-changing, fluid-filled sacs all over their skin called chromatophores that not only allow the octopus to change texture, but also color. So they can look like a piece of coral or a piece of seaweed or a rock and change all these colors to blend in. That's something known as a structural adaptation. Poison dart frogs have a chemical adaptation. By eating certain species of ants, they're also able to kind of manufacture a poison that goes into their skin and leaks out into their mucus, killing anything that comes in contact. And some of these things are also, dearest Eve, we can hear your keyboard.
Sorry.
It's okay. Eve's taking really good notes right now, actually. That is a very good zoology student. I applaud you. That's very good. There's also behavioral adaptation combined with some other things, like this praying mantis that looks like a dead leaf at the end of a branch, which is super cool. And now that you have the foundation of evolution, we're basically at the zoology part. That's where everybody's like, wait, this is an evolution class. Where's the zoology part? But you got to get this background before you can kind of dive into the meat of it. And zoology has a really fancy long definition, which is that it's the scientific study of the behavior, structure, physiology, distribution, and the classification of animals. And what we're going to fixate on now is actually that last part, the classification of animals, or the naming of animals. And in the world of zoology, there's scientists that name it, but then there's also internet zoologists who come up with things like this, like the majestic sea flap. We also have the fried egg jellyfish. Now, I want to ask you guys in the audience. That's like, I remember this. In the audience, I want to ask you, is that a real common name for an animal, or is that an internet name?
That's a real name.
Real? Yeah?
I heard it on National
Octane's trying to be the gold star student. I watch National Geographic Discovery Channel, the zoo.
Oh, hey.
So, fried egg jellyfish, it is a real common name. But so is also the white-bellied go-away bird.
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
animals
good. That's
have
a good
common
name.
names. Yeah, because it goes along with something unique about them. And this bird actually has a vocalization that sounds like it's saying "go away." I'm not going to mimic it. You can just imagine, or you can. There's YouTube. There's recordings. But it sounds like they're yelling "go away." And so for the common name, scientists were like, "There we go, we got it." But of course, when it comes to common names, that is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a common name. It changes. And ultimately, the way that we name animals is through something called taxonomy, which has a very big structure to it from the animal kingdom all the way down. And for the sake of time, it's not something that we dive into in this panel, but you can think of it like nature's filing cabinet, where you have a big filing cabinet. You could say the filing cabinet is the animal kingdom. Then you have a drawer, and that drawer goes into a phylum, or a big major grouping of animals. And then as you're going through that drawer, you're looking into folders within folders, and you can think of that as like the class, the order, the family. You're basically using those sections to get a little bit closer to the fine-tuned animal that you're looking for. And in the case of this description here, it's the leopard. So there's a lot of steps to get to before you actually get to what a leopard is. And I want to ask you guys, when we're looking at this, that was very complicated. It hurts me and Peachy's heads a lot to think about. I'm sure it hurts. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, Doc, if you can't explain it in 1 minute, why do we got to learn it? And that's what I'm asking you guys in the audience. Why should we go through the trouble of learning scientific names instead of just common names? Any guesses?
No pain, no gain.
No pain. What did you say, Sly?
Maybe for language barriers, like so everyone knows.
Language barriers? Yeah, and Eve? Variation? Eve, you were going to say something too? Variations, yeah. I heard Eve about to speak, but didn't. That's okay. But, yeah, you guys all gave great examples. And, to kind of illustrate everything that was just set out in the audience, I'm going to give you guys this. And Twitch chat, I'm so sorry for what you're about to hear, because it's probably going to sound chaos. But on the count of 3, everybody in the audience, including you, Peachy, if you want, even though you know the answer to this, I guess.
All right.
On the count of 3, I want you guys, don't scream it. Don't scream it, but just shout.
The audience to be heard on the stream, have them come up to the booth with you.
Oh, I thought we were leaving it on for this panel.
They can talk, but it's not being
Sorry, I'm
picked up
talking to
by
AV.
the stream team.
Oh no, the poor Twitch chat hasn't heard the audience the whole time. That's so sad. Sorry, guys. Well, that changes things. Twitch chat, if you're curious why I'm confused, we were talking about before the panel started about leaving it on where the audience could be heard the entire time, but I guess that wasn't true. But that's okay. Me and Beth have been hearing it, and that's what matters. So, in the audience, I want you guys, and then the Twitch chat too. On the count of 3, I want you guys to just start typing or shouting what you know this animal by. And in the audience, just say one name, because I think it'd get crazy if you all start shouting the same thing. So, on the count of 3, let me know what you know this animal by, okay? 1, 2, 3. Anyone in the audience?
Lion.
Cougar? Lion? Not lion. Puma?
Yeah. Getting all the names.
Meow. Meow. Yeah. So.
Got what? Mountain lion, puma. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard mountain lion, puma, and what was the other one?
Meow.
Leopard.
Meow.
Meow.
Meow. So.
Meow.
This animal actually has 40 different names in the English language alone, and it also
40?
holds the Guinness Book World Record for the animal with the most number of names, because it can be found all the way from Canada all the way down in South America, and so many people of different languages all named it different things. And it's a perfect example of why we need to learn scientific names instead of common names, because it's very confusing. Sometimes scientific names are a little strange, or maybe fitting. It is. So there's a whole group of slime mold beetles that are named after the Bush-Cheney administration. Take that how you will. There's also a species of trilobite that is named after Han Solo, or Harrison Ford. Its scientific name is Han Solii because the scientist loved Star Wars. That's really all it was. And for all of you Mick Jagger fans, there's a prehistoric species of hippo that is named after him. Self-explanatory.
Good for him. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, he's pogging.
Yeah. Here, let's go back a little. Yeah.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
That's very accurate.
I like that.
Yeah. That's very good. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it's very close.
Animal's got
It's
a
very
pog
close.
face.
Yeah. Pog face. He ate a lemon.
You did eat a lemon. Both of them ate lemons.
Dearest Peachy and dearest audience in Twitch chat, this is the time of the panel where Doc looks at the timer and realizes they have 15 minutes.
It's okay.
For 75% of the panel, the joys and
Let's
beauty
go.
of having ADHD. You ready for a whirlwind of zoology class? So the next step is behavior. Oh,
Let's go.
Did I fly away? Am I tracking? Okay.
Nope, you're good. You're good. You're still here. You're grounded.
I say whirlwind and my avatar just spins off into the distance, never to
Just
return.
start floating straight up.
I just float away. I want an immersive. We all just start spinning out. So we're going to talk about behavior, structure, and physiology. And let me tell you, the animal kingdom is a lot weirder than you guys probably all thought. I hear worm, yes. Any other?
Worm.
Who? What else is this?
Is a snake?
Huh? Legless lizard.
That's a puppy.
Is
That's
it
a puppy.
lizard?
Puppy, worm,
could be.
lizard. What else? What else is
Little man?
it? A little man.
Yeah.
So what if
Little
I told
baby
you?
man.
Yeah, a little
this-
guy.
What if I told you this is a relative of frog?
What?
And the whole audience just goes dead silent.
What? Excuse me?
Twitch chat, if you couldn't hear them, it was like nonstop like talking and yelling about how cute it was, and then I said it's a relative of frog. It was like you could hear a pin drop in the room when I said that. Yeah, that's an amphibian.
Uh-huh.
You were all wrong. Well, except little man, maybe. Yeah, this is called a Sicilian, and they are an amphibian. They're relative frogs, toads. Yeah, like the pizza. Oh, don't get me
All right.
started. There's actually a really fun animation on YouTube. I'll share it in the Discord later for everyone. Or those of you that are listening, you can look it up now. It's called the Sicilian Cotillion, and it's a very fun song that the California Academy of Sciences made about these animals to educate people. And they mention that kind of pizza in the song. It gets stuck in my head every time I listen. But anyway, Sicilians are an amphibian, but that's not the weirdest thing about them. The weirdest thing about them is that they go through live birth. Most of them do. So there's no eggs. Some of them do, but most are live birth. And you know how they get their, that first little extra bit of energy after being born? They eat their mother's skin.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dwell on that
yeah,
as I skip to the
tasty
next
treat.
slide.
Sure.
Yeah. She's
Something to think
fine. She's
about.
fine, by the way. She's fine. They just eat her
Okay.
skin, But she's fine. Yeah.
Right.
Some birds, they
Thanks,
have really
Mom.
funny dances, especially the bird of paradise group of animals, and that's because they go through some amazing courtship behaviors to stand out to the ladybirds. You guys may have seen my weird clack fans that I made of a bird of paradise. It's really fun. That was my biggest brain idea that I've ever done. And it was because I used to work with birds quite a bit through the early parts of my career. I love them. I love all their amazing dances and the things they do seem special in front of, those that they want to be with. And of course, those that watch my Twitch streams, I'm sorry, but not sorry. I had to include our dearest little friend right here. Those who tune into my zoology classes probably know this creature as Bobby. And
Okay.
we call him Bobby because he's just terrifying. And by calling him Bobby, it makes him a little less scary. But Bobby
Definitely
is
does.
a bobbit worm. He is adorable.
Hug that now.
Oh.
Yeah. He would hug you. He would hug you too, but it would not be good.
Oh.
So bobbit worms stay in the sand, and here I'll get behind the podium. They got their big pinchers out of the sand like this, and they have these tentacles that come out, and as fish or other things come by, it tickles those, and they basically act like a trap where they close shut. And the terrifying thing about them is they can be upwards of 7, 8 feet, 9 feet long, but all you see is the pinchers. So a fish is like, that's not a big deal. And when those pinchers get triggered, they actually launch out of the sand and like grab a hold of the fish and then pull it hard down into the sand. So when you said that you would hug it, That's what I meant by it would hug you too, but it would not be good. It would not be good.
no
You would
hugs.
be pulled into the depths of the sand.
Sorry, Bobby. I'm good.
Give me a
Polite
Bobby hug.
decline.
Yeah. So this is people are gonna be like, disclaimer. What I'm about to say, people are gonna be like, why would you even say that, Doc? It's just a flatworm. There's a lot more that I say about this animal when I do this panel 18 plus at cons. For this one, it's just going to be straight biology facts, and we're just going to move on. There's probably going to be some chuckling. So this is a flatworm, and you guys are probably once again being like, Doc, why are you saying that? And that's because this group of animals, this species, they're all hermaphrodites, meaning that they're both male and female. And unlike earthworms, who in every breeding pairing are both male and female in every situation. It's not one or the other. It's not like they choose and decide. Flatworms kind of do. They do decide. And the way they decide it is they actually fence fight each other with their male anatomy parts. Moving on to the next slide, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Science.
All right.
Zoology.
Yeah.
And I know putting this picture afterwards is kind of shocking because you're like, Doc, where are you going with this? This is a hagfish, you guys. Come on, God, it's a hagfish. Hagfish are pretty gross though because they have a defensive mechanism to release slime, and they can release so much slime, in fact, that when they have been transported in large quantities and say to a fish market, and said fish market truck has an accident on the highway, this happens. That's real, yeah. That's hagfish slime. You can even see the hagfish. It is very sad, the poor hagfish. But it's a lot of slime. There was a fish market wreck. This is not edited. This is real. Why? I would never have a reason to lie to anyone. But this is real, for real. I know you guys are probably like, I don't know how to trust this person. Elephants. They're also they're more like us than you can imagine. They love drinking. And you may be like, yes, they drink water. No, they like alcohol. In fact, some of the most natural alcohol on the planet is from fruits fermenting. And specifically, there's a type of fruit in Africa known as the marula fruit. It's often used in rum. And what does marula fruit do when it ferments in the hot sun? And an elephant comes across it, they eat it, and they get drunk. A lot of animals do that. Some animals.
Yeah.
Some animals also get a little high, and I'm not talking about the devil's lettuce. I'm talking about some really powerful, poor little guy highs. This is a poppy field.
Ooh.
Or for the medical industry that's in Australia, or for opium, for really strong prescription strength. It's raining now. That's awesome. Thank you, Furality team. This world. I'm sorry, I have to be distracted. Furality has outdone themselves with these worlds, and I will never stop yelling about it. Every year I yell about it.
Cool.
This is no different, but this is really cool. In any case, that's opium field, and these cute. Oh, God,
No.
No, monkeys don't eat opium. Maybe they do, but that one doesn't. The picture for this, Furality was like, you can only have 50 slides, and I'm like, oh my God. I looked at my Google slides. I had like 110, and I'm like, yep. Yeah, 50, that's fine. And I just started deleting them. Furality never knew. I was like, yeah, totally a 50, 50's fine. And one of the slides I deleted was of the wallaby, because wallabies, they actually go out in these fields and they eat and they get so high that they spin in circles, and they actually make crop circles in the fields. And what was really scary for these farmers is they didn't know what was making the alien-like crop circles until they put up some cameras. And it was wallabies going out there and getting so high that they just spun in a circle all night, and then they left. Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Wallabies. Monkeys do get drunk, though. Peachy, I don't know if you remember this. There's probably some people in the Twitch chat have been the in-person cons. They're like, now how's Doc going to do this one in a safe for work panel? And the question is very, very, very scientifically. It's a biology class, you guys. There's no funny business. No funny business in this panel.
We're not laughing. There's no
science. No. So this is a species of what we call marsupial mouse. It is a marsupial. They say marsupial mouse because it looks like a mouse, but it's not. And these guys, during breeding season, they're very enthusiastic about breeding season, let me tell you. And by the end of it, all the males, their body parts are falling off. Their leg, their arm, their whiskers,
Oh.
their ear,
Oh.
other unmentionables, and then they all die. All the males die, and it leaves behind
Oh.
a utopia of pregnant females for the next generation. Yeah,
Huh.
and it's honestly pretty horrifying.
That's
I mean,
scary.
come on. Science,
Oh, no.
science, purely
It's pretty,
scientific
like,
biology
metal, but-
discussion. Right? Octopus, some cool abilities. We got 5 minutes, guys. These are the chromatophores. They got fluid in them. Sometimes they change texture and color.
Ooh.
And I just want to say, you guys, this is people are like, why would you pause that thought on the picture of a dead frog, Doc? That is messed up. Well, he's not dead, and I'll explain in a moment. But if you're wondering, you're like, Doc was not prepared for this Furality panel. This is how all the Zoology 101s go. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. They're pure chaos. Like the description said, it's the most fun you'll ever have learning. I did not promise how much learning you would get done in the panel. If you noticed that, the description did not say that. I didn't say you're going to know everything there is to know about zoology. I said you will have the most fun you've ever had while learning, and we're achieving that. Anyway, not a dead frog. This is a wood frog.
Not dead.
These guys are one of the only ectotherms, or animals that get energy from the environment, that lives as far north as they do, up into the Arctic Circle, up past me in Canada. These guys can actually be frozen almost completely solid because they have specific molecules in their blood that acts like an antifreeze. So they'll pretty much almost freeze entirely solid each winter. They thaw out in the spring like nothing happened. Go about their day. Very extreme hibernation. He's just cute. That's all.
Aw, yeah. Just a little guy.
In any case, oh God, we do actually have time. I did not go over. Furality, you guys can read me questions. I'm also going to try and pull some things up, but if y'all are able to dictate questions for me, that'd probably be a little bit easier. We have a little bit of time for questions from Discord or Twitch, whatever you guys would like to do.
Awesome. Let me go see what questions we got right now. So, this is a question by question asker Zora. They ask, do you think foxes will be acceptable as a good household pet someday? And should other places in the world give them a chance? For example, like New Zealand.
Yeah, so like, I mean, it's a very tough question because I do recognize there are some people that have quote unquote exotic pets that do take good care of them. With what I'm about to say, I'm not referencing the really good trained people. I'm referencing the average everyday public, which is what I think this question is targeted at. And no, I don't think so. Domestication actually takes thousands of years. Anyone that says that they're running a domesticated fox breeding farm or anything like that is unfortunately lying through their teeth. Is thousands of years of time it takes to get something truly domesticated. Now, are there people that can take care of foxes and provide them good quality of life? Yes. Could an average everyday person, someone, I'll say that and then someone's going to be like, I'm a zoologist of 20 years of experience in the Discord. I was going to say that most people, probably 99.99% of people in the Discord and the Twitch chat, it'd be very hard for me to say that would make a good owner for them because they take a lot of space. They're actually surprisingly stinky. They destroy things and they're just not great pets. Is it possible? Yes. But not something I recommend to people. Sorry, it's kind of a weird answer. It's a very strange topic.
We have a minute and a half left,
Yeah.
so we're going to just do like two more questions, and I'm just going
Yeah.
to give you some quick ones. Okay, nerdy guys ask, what's your favorite animal?
I love this question because people always make fun of me when I say it. People are my favorite animal. I love humans. For all the bad things that happen in the world because of humans, I love humans. I get a little teary-eyed saying this. You guys can't tell because I'm in VR. You can't see it, even though I announced it to everyone. I love meeting people. I love hearing everyone's stories. I love when people come up to my dealer's den booth and say that my silly little panels made them go back to school for zoology. I love all that. I love people. They'll always be my favorite animal. I'm not trying to say that just to sound good on Twitch. It's true. I say it outside of this too. Yeah.
Okay. Question asker Asuka asks, what, in your opinion, is the biggest conservation concern today?
Ooh, that is a very tough one. It's actually a pretty big problem, quite literally. I think it is not having enough land for all the things that we want to conserve. It's one reason why there's a lot of animals in zoos and aquariums, tigers, cheetahs, these bigger animals, people are like, why won't you release them into the wild? That should be our ultimate goal. And it's like, what wild do we release them to?
Yeah.
Land space, it's decreasing. We're taking over it. Like, where would they go? And there's a lot of things that we are trying to save and conserve out there, but it's just so difficult because there's not enough space for everything that we need to save. Now, I will say this because I know we're running out of time, but I do want to say, I know that sounds very negative, and then me talking about diversity earlier was very negative, kind of talking about things going extinct. There's a lot to be hopeful for. There's things to be worried about, but I'm actually very hopeful for where conservation's going. There's a lot of animals that we are saving. Tigers are still here. They were supposed to be extinct in 2022. They're not. They're here. There's a lot of animals that are on the uprise, and because of those of you asking all these questions in Discord in the audience, those of you that care and make a difference, those of you that recycle or go to school no matter what you do, that's why I have a lot to be optimistic for the future. So don't let my negative things make you feel concerned. I will say, because I know Brulee is about to be like, Doc, you got to get off the stage. You guys asked a lot of good questions. Like I did last Furality. I know we just don't get to everything. You guys asked so many good ones. I do go back into the text channel and answer them by text. I know that will probably start a conversation with some of you, but just for the sake of it not getting crazy in there, if you ask a question, I will answer, kind of that one question thing and then move on to the next person. So I will get to your questions within the next few hours. So thank you for your patience in not hearing back during the panel itself, but I will give you a personal answer in the Discord server afterwards. And with that,
You took
that's
the
all
words
I'll
right
brag
out of
on
my mouth.
about.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
afraid to close this out.
yeah. Yeah. I thank you guys for coming to this panel. I know we missed the last big Furality for panels, but I'm glad to be here this year and excited to be at future ones. Catch me at Anthrocon. I'm not doing a panel there, but I will be in the dealer's den every day. So if you'd like to meet me in person,
Woo.
chat about animals and stuff, come see me there. That's where I'm going to be in a few weeks. I thank you guys.
Heck yeah.
Have a great rest of your Furality. Don't get wet. It's raining. You may need an umbrella.